Welcome. Welcome, sisters, to Peering Beyond the Veil, exploring the essence, healing, and the awakening of the mystical eye. I'm first going to start with a little bit of smudging before I begin and sharing with you some of the essence of power and how it can help empower and move you to your next threshold of power for yourself. Okay, here we go. I first want to start with some indigenous wisdom, and I'm going to share with you the medicine of your original sound. So, the day you were born, that day you were born, you let out your first cry. That initial cry was your sound. That was your original sound. But yet, from that moment on, what happened is that the sounds of the world became louder and began to drown out the sound of your own voice. You became conditioned, we become conditioned to listen to the sounds of the world and not our own. So, your original sound is your voice. It's your intuition, your self expression, your magic, your potential, your spiritual purpose. It is the essence of you that was silenced over time. And that silence inside of you is actually the power that resides within you. It resides within your original sound. So during this time together, I'm going to share with you the medicine of power and how you can cultivate a conscious relationship with it to continue freeing your original sound. So we are living right now, currently, in a time which shadow power, which is power over, which is the shadow masculine, is the predominant energy that humanity is living under. And the survival of our planet, the survival of self, all hinges on us transforming the power over concept to the power within expression. And that transformation is the balance of the masculine and feminine archetypal principles. So evolution is needing to transform the distorted, unconscious, wounded masculine and the impressed, silenced feminine. Therefore, the rise of the feminine is necessary for both of these archetypal principles to thrive. And for us to save humanity, we must become more conscious. We must balance these two archetypal principles. And that's what we're doing here, right? That's what all of us have gathered here to do, and to participate in the rise of the feminine, to balance this power, to balance this imbalance of distorted masculine and the oppressed feminine. So let's talk about power. What is power? So what is power within? Well, power is a force that resides within you. It is a force to be harnessed to shape your destiny. Power is an inner state of alignment. It's an inner state of clarity, and power is it's being free from external influences and forces that create fear, consciousness, and anxiety in your body. Each challenge, each crisis, every crossroads you face is a journey to the wellspring of your own power to unlock the potential and the purpose for you in this lifetime. So power knows no boundaries or limitations. It's we that put the boundaries and the limitations on ourselves. It is a force that transcends time and space and allows you to gain access to the universal consciousness, to become active participants and co-creators of your own reality, thus shaping your destiny. But here's the thing. Power is often mistaken for fear because they feel very similar in the body. Fear threatens our existence, your emotional and mental security, and your relationship to control. Got to keep things safe, got to keep them in status quo. And that's what's so fascinating about power and fear, is that when power is rising in the body, we will mistake it sometimes for fear. So, for example, you're getting ready to do a major presentation, and you can feel the fear in your body. I want to invite you to begin to be with that differently and realize that that is the power that is rising in your body. And so what we do is we allow our minds to interpret that fear that we're feeling as, I got to stop. I can't do this. This feels uncomfortable. This is the unknown. I can't control it. Instead of allowing that fear, which is truly that power, to rise up in the body. So your untapped, like I said, your untapped power can feel the same way. So how do we change that? How do we begin to understand it? How do we transfigure it? How do we step into a brighter light? Well, how we can do that is through acts of power. And what does that mean? Well, I'll explain that in a moment, but first I want to go here because I think this is really powerful information that's going to help you to understand about what fear is and where it resides in your body. So fear, along with control, is a resident of your carbon-based DNA. Now, we're all human beings living in a body. We're all part of the earth. We all come from the earth, and this is an aspect of us. And what we must learn is we must learn how to be in right relationship with our carbon-based DNA and understand its functions and its limitations. Because living at the effect of our carbon-based DNA puts us in a state of victimhood and powerlessness. Doubt is a place where our carbon-based DNA resides. And doubt is the gatekeeper of power. Doubt will be that thing that stops us. It'll be that thing that begins to make us make choices that sabotage ourselves, that don't empower us. So we really need to come to this understanding and realization of how our carbon-based DNA works for us and how it can work against us. And we will always meet doubt. We will always meet doubt at every threshold of power that you are destined to embody. You will face doubt because it is the gatekeeper. Another gatekeeper of power is fate. Okay, now fate is that story, is that voice that says, "Oh yeah, my family has always done it this way, therefore this is the way I must do it." Or because my genetics say that I'm going to have a high propensity for heart issues, I'm probably going to end up having that too. That's fate. That's a product of the shadow DNA experience. Okay. Ellen Watts has a great song and it's called It Starts Now. And if you don't know it, I just want to invite you to check that out because there's a line in there that he talks about how we keep ourselves from waking up. And it's through these fated stories that we tell ourselves. Now, I told myself a fated story, and that fated story happened over 30 years ago when my mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And that actually ended up becoming my spiritual awakening. But that conversation that I had with myself when I first found out was that, oh, my mother has it, so I am definitely going to end up having to deal with this in my life at some point. And that was when my awareness was I was actually still asleep. So it's through that whole experience of that process with her that I came to this spiritual awakening and realizing that, wait a minute, is this really how this operates? And so that's when I learned to understand the difference between fate and destiny, to be in choices that are unconscious versus choices that are conscious and move us forward. So, how do we unlock power? How do we move from power to fear? Well, let's first talk about your divine genome, which is your divinity, which is your divine inheritance, which is where your spiritual encoding resides. And in order for us to really come clear with this and the differences and be able to feel the differences in our body of our carbon-based DNA versus our divine inheritance, which is our divine genome, we must become spiritually sober. And what does it mean to become spiritually sober? It means to become clear, to be no longer intoxicated by the dream, to hold ourselves accountable, to no longer playing the victim. And this is where acts of power come in. Now, an act of power, what does that mean? It means that thing that you know you must do or not do. And For some of us, it can be big things, and for others, it can be small things. But it's always going to affect you in a way where you are not accessing your power. So it can be little small things. It could be that sugar that you know you don't need to eat anymore. It could be the fact that maybe you need to get up and walk around the block. And here's the thing is each one of these little things that we do, whether they're little or big, I want you to start reframing this in how you do it, or don't do it, or decide what you're going to do, is that each one of these are an act of power. And every time you move past something that voice in you says, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, oh, I will work on it later, that what you're doing is that you are actually oppressing your own power. Now, here's the thing about power as well, is that true power does not need validation. True power is quiet. It's actually even unassuming. And I know this sounds like it goes against that I need to speak my truth concept, but it actually doesn't, because this is all the pathway of consciousness has many different stages along the way. And when we come into finally feeling the freedom to be able to be seen and to be heard, we must speak our truth. And that is very empowering, and that is where power begins to rise within us. And then we reach a place on the path, the spiritual path of consciousness, the spiritual path of awakening into our discipleship. And then we realize that I don't need to be understood by those on the fringe. I don't I don't need to be seen in a way so that I could be validated. I no longer need that. I no longer need that outside external, you're good, I see you, because we have come to a place within ourselves to where we have awakened to a point that I understand me, I see me. And this is the direction in which thought leaders must progress. This is the direction in which all of us must progress, but especially those of us that are thought leaders. And this is where the mystical eye in the inner vision of intuitive perception comes in. And the mystical eye is that it is the ability to see beyond the literal eye. It's be able to see the symbolic. It's the ability to be able to see the metaphoric, to go beyond the physical senses, to perceive the hidden truths and spiritual realities, to move beyond ordinary perception, allowing yourself to see the world through a different lens. And going back to this, just want to reiterate this on these acts of power. It is so much sometimes just tied up in the mundane things that we avoid doing. And we're at a time right now, we're in a time of January 2023, Saturn moved into the sign of Pisces. I'm also an intuitive astrologer, and it is going to stay in the sign of Pisces until February of 2026. This is a long transit for Saturn. Usually it's about 2.5 years. This one's going to be pretty much 3 years. So what does that mean? What is the combination of these two powerful archetypes coming together? Well, Pisces is all about dissolving the barriers of Saturn. And, Pisces is Christ consciousness. Pisces is the healer archetype. And for the spiritual communities, like this is our pinnacle here. It really is with Saturn and Pisces, because what Saturn and Pisces is also representing is about the merging of the spirit, merging spirit and matter. It's the earth realm and the spirit realm coming together. And it's also about the world of reason versus the world of the unreasonable. And the world that we're in right now is the world of the unreasonable. It's that which cannot be explained. And sure, there's some things you say we can't explain, but as a whole, that is why we get so much pushback from the culture of we're so woo-woo and those kinds of things, which I really cannot stand to hear that word, but it's a way to describe it, because it doesn't have sometimes the reason, often the reason that the literal mind can understand. So that's what we're moving to. We're moving to this balance of the healer archetype within us, the unseen world and the seen world coming together. And Saturn is here is for that support. And the other thing about Saturn and the combination of these two energies, we are coming to a time of destabilization, and we're already in it. We have been in it because we're melting away the structures in the systems, because we're needing to rebuild these new systems. And the healing arts, as seen as the healing arts, is becoming more mainstream. That's what this whole Pisces in Saturn era is about, to be seen as a structure of health. So energy medicine, the unseen world, all of that coming into a more bigger role than what it has played. It's not so much in the shadow. It's this is the emergence of it. It's almost like when it happened back in the 60s, because this was also when Saturn was in Pisces again, was back in the 60s. And so this was a rise of like plant medicine. It's where psilocybin really came on board, acid, and people experimenting with that to have these spiritual breakthroughs. And so it's not about the misuse of plant medicine, because that's what is also part of the shadow aspect of this Saturn and Pisces right now, is that people are misusing plant medicine and using it as bypasses and a way to just avoid like being in the reality of some of this hard work. So that's something to just be noteworthy of. Okay, so the other thing is, this is about religion, and it's also about there's a bit of a conflict with religion, because religion is form and spirituality is formlessness, and that's what's on the rise even more, is this formlessness. So it's really important to remember that this Saturn and Pisces shift is all about understanding the boundaries of the physical world and to changing those boundaries of the physical world, because what's happening is there is a collapsing of the 3D world. So it's materialism versus spiritualism. And we're always going to be put through some tests with Saturn. It's just how it works. So the other piece here is Saturn in Pisces wants to bring a more mature approach, a more mature approach and even professional approach to introducing the powerful changes of how the healing arts can support the mainstream. And I used a term earlier, and I said people on the fringe of them maybe not understanding you. And what that is, the people on the fringe are the people that are on the outside that have not quite awakened yet, because we have like different levels of consciousness that's currently in the in our present humanity. And we have those of us that are waking up and they continue to wake up and to go deeper. We have those that are just ready to wake up, and the more that we do these kinds of things, then they're able to come into some of their awakening. And then we have people that will never wake up in this lifetime, and that's all part of actually the balance. It really is, at least the balance that we're needing right now for the evolutionary time that we're in. So this is a time, an invitation to transcend the distractions of modern society and the culture, and cultivate a deep connection with your spiritual essence, your power, and the awakened I, the I am. So this is what I want to leave you. Push deeper. Go deeper. If you go deep enough, you will come to a point where you feel or find a place of focus, a movable will, a place where you truly stand on your own, a place where you are free. And when you find that place, my friends, my sisters, that is power. Now, before I leave you, I want to just do a little drumming just to close it out. Aloha, Amen, and Namaste.